Hello all Nikon users. Welcome to the second part of my video on NX Studio. In this video, we will show the beginners and the photographers using this application for the first time how to do basic edits. If you like this video, please remember to hit that like button. Let's do some basic edits in NX Studio. If you haven't already, open NX Studio. Okay, so I've preloaded some files from Transfer 2 that were originally on my camera in part 1. So I've loaded JPG file, JPEG in other words, NEF, which is a RAW file, and several other files. I've placed the files with extra green in them and photos with grain to help you with the adjustments. So what you need to know is if you're still using JPEG, you won't be able to adjust them in the basic edit palettes if they're not RAW. So you might want to move over to RAW files. RAW files give you a greater range of adjustment. So if you're still using JPEGs or JPGs, make sure that you change over to RAW so you have greater control. So my first file is a JPG. So as you can see, it's a photo of a raptor. So let's go through the adjustments in the basic edit palette. So as you can see, picture control, white balance, exposure, active delighting are all blacked out because it is a JPG file, a JPEG, and it won't let you adjust that. So I've included two photos, one in JPEG and one in RAW. But you can go into adjust in brightness and adjust the brightness with the brightness tab. You can adjust that. If you want to, what you can also do is what most users don't understand is right now we have the current. If you want to see the before and after, unclick that button, check that button, see, and that puts your adjustment back on top. So if you want to see the before and after, just click that button. Alright, so here we go. Also, if you want to record the adjustment and you want to apply it to the other photos, all you have to do is click record adjustment, user setting, rename it. We're going to rename this one Raptor. And now there's an adjustment. So whatever you changed in these adjustments below it will now be under adjustment Raptor. It's just like having a preset. You just made your own preset. So now what I can do is I can highlight both of these and whatever value Raptor. I can change both of these to Raptor. So they will both have the same brightness, contrast, saturation, highlight protection, shadow protection, or delighting, depending on what you set for it. All right, if I want to change it back, I go to original value. Fairly simple. And then if you notice, the check goes away in the box. All right, next we will go to the RAW file. Okay, as you can see, the picture control, the white balance, and the exposure, and everything that says RAW is now active. So now you can use the adjustment manager, which includes the gray point sample tool to adjust the white balance, the auto retouch brush to remove dust from images. So if you take a photo in low ISO in the darkness, then you might want to replace some of the dust. And here are the color control points. I will show you how to use that. And so what you can do is with this, you can use this in a certain area to control the brightness and the contrast. And this is the crop tool, which will help you resize your photo. Remember, whenever you're taking a photo, you want to get the photo framed the way you want it so you don't have to crop. If you're a new user, whenever you crop, you take away megapixels. And so what that means is the more megapixels you take away from the photo, the less resolution you have. So I used to have a D800 and it had a high resolution, so I could take a photo and then crop it half 50% and still have a great photo, because I would use it at 48 megabytes and I could crop it to half and still have 25 megabytes of the standard cameras. All right, and this is the straighten tool. We will go over that in this video. So let's go to the grayscale tool. Let's do this one first. So we'll pick this, and as you noticed when I picked that, it automatically went to white balance. So if you're new, you always want to set your white balance, and you always want to correct it first thing before you start adjusting your colors, because if your white balance isn't correct, then your picture won't be correct, your colors in your picture, your levels. All right, so in the photo, you always want to find something that is either white or gray. The preference is something neutral gray, not dark, just bright. So let's see in this photo, the airplane. Let's see if this changes the colors. You see how that just yellowed the photo? You don't, that means you picked a bad neutral point. Okay, so number one thing, learn how to use your camera. Set the white balance in camera. NX Studio or any application should be your last resort for white balance. All right, let's try this building. It's white. Let's see if we can get a better. Okay, that made the photo a little better. So also up here, we can make the photo cooler. Notice how the histogram changes. Notice how the histogram changes. The blues and the yellows. All right, and if we want to change it back to what we had, in case we lost track of what we did, we can go back to the original value. Also, under white balance, we can let the application correct it for us by picking calculate automatically. Let's see what it gives us. That made it a little warmer. So it made the color temperature 5500, which is basically sunlight. I have a Kelvin chart, so the color temperature is rated by Kelvin temperature. So if you have a Kelvin temperature, then you can base it off of whatever the temperature is outside by the colors. It goes by different colors. Each one of these colors, fluorescent lighting, is 3000 K and down. You can see with the menu what the different Kelvin temperatures are, depending on where you're at or what lighting situation you're in. All right, so let's try direct sunlight and let's see if that improves the photo. A little bit. It made it 5200 Kelvin, which is close sunlight. So let's go to cloudy. No. Cloudy made it too bluish. Okay, so let's use the gray point. That made it bluer. So Let's try sunlight again. I like that. So let's adjust the brightness. Okay. Remember, a photo is only as good as you adjust it. So if you like your photos vivid, bright, then that's the way you like them. Everyone has their own style, so don't ever let anyone tell you what your style should be. If you like your colors vivid, then you can make them vivid. So being a professional photographer, what I do now is I make my photos standard for clients. Clients like standard close to life pictures. They don't want them too vivid unless they ask for that specifically. So we can also adjust the contrast. As you notice, the histogram changes. And so what you want to make sure of is that your histogram, that nothing goes to the right. You want to keep it in the middle. There we go. Notice how that changed. Saturation. We can add more saturation. And all it does is add more color. Shadow protection. Highlight protection basically is background. It makes the background change. Let's see here. Let's do this. See, nothing changes. It's already bright outside, so it doesn't have any highlights. Okay, shadow protection. If you have anything in the shadows, like under the wings, see how that brought that out? See, now it's visible. Now you can see under the wings a little bit better. It brought the shadows out. Delighting. That brightens the picture up a little bit. So notice how I brightened the picture up, and now the greens are greener. So if we want to see what the before and after looks like, we just click the button. And see how dull that looks? We brighten that photo up tremendously. It looks that much better. So let's use another tool. So if I do this, if I go up top, I can either do it with my mouse, click the mouse and make it 100%, or I can click it again and make it 21%, or I can fit the image through the window up here. So see how I can change the zoom? So there are different ways. Or you can change the zoom by the menu. And so what this helps you do is do a spot edit. So say for instance, I want to clean this up. See how that'll remove that? I don't like that phone pole in the picture. See how I'd remove that? And so that's how you go through and you can remove any unwanted thing in your picture. Let's see how that works. It blurs it a little. So you can also change the size of it. See? And I removed that telephone pole, that distracting telephone pole. Oh, you hover over it, and we'll go through and we can clean that up later. I just wanted to show you the basic way to clean that up. All right, next up is this. So this is called a color control point. And so what this does is you can pick a spot in the photo to enlarge. See how that enlarged? So we're going to pick the brightness, so I can make the brightness in this one particular area higher. So that way if the sun's shining from that side, you can make it feel like the sun's coming from that area. So next we can do the contrast for this area. And see how we changed the photo just that quick? Same thing, we can expand it to contrast and the RGB values. So if you have something in the screen, so let's put it down here. So let's change the RV value. So we're going to change the RV value of that. So we changed that to green. So if you have the grass, you can change the RB value to the grass. So let's make it a little larger. Change the warmth in this area. Okay, now let's expand the photo back out. You can also, if you have a scroll bar, you can also use the scroll bar. So let's come out of that. So see how we changed that photo? So say I want to crop out this. And I don't want to get a particular part. I want to take out part of the runway and I only want part of the photo. I would select that and use the mouse, hold the mouse down and expand it, and then I would hit enter. And now it only has the plane and it cropped out the runway. Next, let's do the straighten tool. See how it slanted the photo? So if you don't like the changes or you do something incorrectly, you can always go back to original value. All right, let's choose another photo. Okay, I have a JPG of Dallas Cowboy draft day. Yay! I know some of you are not Dallas Cowboy fans, so I'm using the scroller to zoom in and zoom out the middle scroll buttons, the roller wheel. All right, as you can see, there's grain on his face. So let's hold down the left mouse and move his face, and let's see if we can improve the grain. All right, in this photo, in this raw photo, now that we have everything open, let's see if we can improve it. Let's try to calculate it automatically. No. So let's use the white balance tool and we will find something gray. Do you see anything gray? Point to it. Let's see his shirt. I made it a little blue. It brightened it up. Is that gray? I made it a little better. Let's see if we can do it with her shoe. That made it too blue. So let's go back with this. So normally when I do a white balance on set, I set it in the camera, but with this lighting, it made everything blue. So let's see if we can offset that. Let's see if we do a fluorescence. No. Somewhat. 7200. No. I picked this photo just for this because it was under different lighting. Okay, no. Okay, so let's choose flash and see if that corrects it. That made it a little better. I did take it with a flash. And let's see, flash GL. Oh, that made it somewhat better. And let's see. So it's not that. So that's what you can do whenever you take a photo. You just need to remind yourself of what lighting you took it under, so you can adjust it faster. So let's do white balance to get it right again. Okay, that corrected it. So let's go to exposure compensation. See how the exposure compensation? Exposure compensation adds a little more light to the photo, and you can adjust it in increments. It's just as though you did it with the camera, with the camera's exposure compensation. And so you want to make sure that you keep the picture from blowing out. See how everything's moving to the right as I move the compensation. See how it's blowing out and everything's moving to the right. You don't want your pictures like that. See how that blew out? So you want your picture in the middle. You want your histogram in the middle if possible. Now let's go to active D lighting. You can adjust that in RAW. So the active D lighting optimizes high contrast images to restore shadow and highlight details that are lost in strong lighting. So it's set at auto. Let's turn it off and see what we have. Okay. Let's turn it normal, high, extra high. And basically adjusting a photo is just like cooking. You put a little salt in here, you take a little color out, you change the exposure, and basically you're trying to get the histogram to stay in the middle. All right, let's move on to the next photo. So the next three photos are raw photos, and what I want to show you with these is these photos have a lot of greenery. And so what happens with greenery is normally what will happen is it makes everything else have a green color cast. And so what we normally try to do is fix that. So as you can see, there's nothing gray to do the white balance. This is a raw file. It's a NEF, so I have greater range. As you can tell right now, it's a little dull, so I want to brighten it up. So the way I normally do is I start at the top with picture control, work your way down. It's set to standard right now. Notice how the histogram is. It's showing me that the picture's dark, a little dark, because everything's to the left of the histogram. So let's make it neutral. Vivid. See how the vivid made everything pop? This is a landscape. Let's see what it gives it. That was a little subtle change. So next, let's check the color temperature. So the color temperature is showing 6194 Kelvin temperature, which is strong sunlight. So let's check the tint. Too much tint. Remember, right now we're just doing basic edits. Please remember to subscribe if you like what you're watching. hit that subscribe button. Okay, you can adjust that to your flavor and exposure compensation. That brightens it up. So let's see what it's like without it. Dark. So next we'll go to, we'll check the brightness. So what I want to do is I brightened it up a little bit. Let's make a contrast. Let's change the contrast. See what we get there. Saturation. Let's see if there's anything in the shadow we can bring out. Everything below it, the level curves, lightness, chroma, and hue adjustments, those are another video. Levels and curves will be part 3 of this tutorial on NX Studio. I broke it up into 8 parts so you wouldn't have an hour-long video to look through, because I know people have better things to do and they like to watch videos in chunks, unless you're a binge watcher. All right. As you can see by the histogram, the green is the dominant color. So let's see what else. Let's see if I can standard. Okay, color temperature. So you can adjust this the way you like it. And that's what it's about, is like before, adjusting it the way you want it. So let's see if there's anything I would like to crop out. This right here, I want to make a, so say for instance, let's choose this. I want to increase my hue of this area right here. I want to increase the saturation of this photo right here. So as you noticed, it sets different points that you can adjust. So you can change the size of the box. See, color control point 1. You can change the size, the hue of each one. So I want to make let's say I want this down here, and so it made it 6. So I want to I can uncheck these and uncheck those values, or delete those values. And so I have this point down here, which is 4. So I want to change the colors on it. I want to increase the green in this one section. And so that's versatile. I like that. That's an improvement over Lightroom. Lightroom doesn't have that. You have to do it a different way. So also you have check marks to show the affected area. So that way you'll know if you chose the correct area. And also you have the selection to not to apply the area. Okay. And all the Anything that you choose can be undone with the click of that. So this particular application uses non-destructive mask, so you can get in and out. It doesn't have a native undo. The undo is done right in the menu with the changing it back to the original value or clicking out of an adjustment. All right, another thing you want to do, I don't want to make this video too long, but you can, as you're doing your adjusting your photos, you can rate them and give them stars. So that way, after you finish adjusting your photos, you can adjust the keepers. So if you want to keep all the 4s, you can delete the other ones, the 2s and the 1s, the ones that are lower ranked. All right, and that is about it for our please watch part 3, levels and curves. We will go over how to adjust the levels and curves in NX Studio. Please subscribe if you like what you saw today. Thanks for watching.